Hello and welcome to Non Sequitur News. It's a time machine episode for April 1st. This is not an April Fool's joke. I got really sick and so I haven't been able to do the shows for a couple of days. And so we're in the time machine jumping back to April 1st. It's season 4, episode 91. I am Mayor Watt, and along with the sentient AI from the future who isn't available today, we talk about 10 articles, and today's 10 articles are Ruggedized Miniature Dachshund, the original Tetris, Aquarium for Geriatric Penguins, Rye Whiskey, No More for You, EU, NaNoWriMo shuts down, or apparently maybe shutting down, not that much charity, Squiggly lines mean slow down or liability. We'll talk about it. Galleries turn to intrigue, April Fool's Day 2025, and You Drink, They Plant, and more on Non Sequitur News. It's powered by ohmtown.com. Go over and become a citizen, and I have to do something really weird if you're watching the stream. I have to reach under my desk. All right. Hello. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com. I use it to manage my information overload. We're actively working on the search. We know that there's a problem with the search. It sucks, and I don't want to be like Reddit's. But anyway, search on a site is very, 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 very intensive and expensive. And yeah, I just can't swing the bat. Anyway, so go over to ohmtown.com and support us that way. Follow us over on YouTube and Twitch. We stream to both. The long form retention of all of the show is over on YouTube. You can also download the podcasts. There's 7 of them. 6 are weekly, 1 is daily. That's this show, ohmtown Non Sequitur News Show. Anyway, go over to wherever you catch pod and search for ohmtown and you'll find us. All right, let's get into it. The very first article is over at Mobble, and it's a channel in ohmtown.com. So just go over there and click on one of the 6 icons at the top, and it'll take you over to one of the 6 breakdowns of whatever might be categorized under there. Anyway, Mobble, it's a group for, it was a project that was designed for the mobile mob, where people could report stuff that they see. Anyway, I try a lot of stuff. Don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So this 8-pound miniature dachshund survived 16 months on a rugged Australian island, but she's still evading rescuers. Apparently, Valerie, the wiener dog, is still on the loose for more than a year after she escaped during her parents' vacation on Kangaroo Island. The article is over at smithsonianmag.com. And hey, if you subscribe to the Smithsonian Magazine, you'll get a free tote. What? A free tote? Anyway, so Sarah Kuda is the author of this article. It's over at smithsonianmag.com. Yeah, there it is. Valerie, little schnitzel, come on. You need to go back home. Maybe you're loving life, be free. Be free. Valerie has been on the run for the past 16 months. In November 2023, the then 1-year-old wiener dog came to the island on a camping trip with their human parents, Georgia Gardner and Josh Fishlock. On the second day of their trip, the couple decided to go fishing at a nearby beach, so they placed Valerie in a playpen with food and toys. While the owner was away, Valerie broke out of the pen and hid under a parked car. Vacationers who were camping nearby tried to capture the dog, but she got spooked and darted off into the wilderness. So off they go. Who knows? Roughly a year after Valerie went missing, reports started coming in of a small dachshund on Kangaroo Island wearing a pink collar. The sightings occurred roughly 9 miles from Stokes Bay, where the little pup escaped. Now volunteers with Kingala Wildlife Rescue, a nonprofit, are doing everything in their power to capture Valerie and reunite her with her parents. Well, good luck. Good luck, little doggies. There's a lot more over at the article, but that's the nuts and bolts of it. Oh, internet, you never let me down. If you want today's articles, I'm going to do this free. Exclamation point NSN. First one's free. that'll tell Omatron to spit all the articles that we're talking about in this episode out onto the chat over on Twitch. On YouTube, it's already embedded in the description, so go over and check it out there if you want. All right, let's keep going. Next article is over in WarCrafters. The original Tetris was a survival game. The man who pried Tetris out of the Soviet system recalls how different it once was. Today sees the publication of Hank Rogers' memoir, The Perfect Game, Tetris, From Russia with Love. Rogers. Not that Roger. Anyway, so Rogers has had a long and storied career in the games industry, but he will undoubtedly always be best known for his association with Tetris, in particular, his leading role in extricating it from Soviet bureaucracy and getting the game's creator, Alexei Pajitnov. I'm sorry. I'm horrible. The credit and money he deserved. The book is a rollicking read, and with the Soviet sections in the 1980s almost veering into John le Carré's territory at points. And they say that they'll be writing some thoughts on it soon. So who is they? Well, Rich Stanton over at PCGamer.com put the article together. The deck statement says people didn't have any idea how they were scoring points, so I wanted to make it clear. So the book, a surprising aspect of the book, is that the game we know as Tetris was originally quite different. Almost all of the elements that define it are there, but a combination of Rogers and Nintendo made additions and changes that are pretty fundamental to the game we all know and love. They told Rogers that Tetris for them, and that's the author of this article, will always be the Game Boy version, and asked him to speak a little to the differences of what we know Tetris versus what it was then. So they say, so the original Tetris was a survival game. It's like, how long can you survive? And so in the very first Electronica 60 version, it wasn't really about scoring points. It's like, how long can you last before you top out? And you got bonus points for hard dropping. You push a button and a piece falls down to the bottom. The higher you hard drop, the more points you get. You have 1 point for each line that it drops. The Electronica 60 was a Soviet computer and a kind of bootleg PDP-11 that was widely used from the late 70s to 90s and even beyond. PDP-11s are still around. I've always wanted one sitting back there blinking or something, a whole wall of stuff. Anyway, so that was the original game, and now we know what it is. So, and there is much more over at the article, of course, so go over and check it all out. You can follow the links through ohmTown, or you can go straight on over to PC Gamer. It's really about getting people to think about technology and science, technology, and society. That's what I talk about every day. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. Aquarium builds new assisted living retirement retreat for aging African penguins to live out their golden years. At the New England Aquarium, the geriatric birds can now enjoy a quieter, calmer setting with an emphasis on personalized care. Now, the article is over at SmithsonianMag.com. Sarah Kuda, once again, writing this article. There are some geriatric penguins, I guess. African penguins in captivity are living longer than their wild counterparts because, well, they become lunch. So we think of this island like assisted living, where we're helping the birds be more comfortable in a calmer environment, says Diana Major, penguin manager for the New England Aquarium. In a statement, being relaxed is key, and we think the new retirement home will ultimately lead to happier and healthier penguins. Correct. Well, they wouldn't live as long, so predatory gulls and ibises eat up to 40% of the bird's eggs, and they continue to prey on chicks after they hatch. So adults are also hunted by caracals and leopards and mongooses or mongoose, fur seals and sharks. And so them in captivity means that they can live a longer, arguably happier life, right? I don't know. We haven't asked them if they're happy. So in the wild, they would never reach this age, says Major in another statement. A lot of the time they see physical issues that we normally wouldn't see in the wild, I should say. Because in the wild, if you're slow, you get eaten by a shark. Yep. And I've actually seen sharks doing this thing where they swim towards a little ice flow and they dip down, and it causes a wave that actually launches something on the ice flow off, and then they come around and they get them. Pretty wild. It creates like a little tidal wave kind of a thing. Anyway, let's keep on going. So, assisted living for retirement penguins. Geriatric ice flow, like Jurassic Park, but it's for penguins. So this next article is over in Distillerist, which is a focus on spirit in what I call spirited debate. EU can no longer label rye whiskey. According to a forgotten 20-year-old EU agreement with Canada, European whiskey producers are prohibited from labeling their rye whiskeys as rye whiskeys. Under the suddenly enforced EU agreement, it is non-compliant for European whiskey producers to use the term rye whiskey in their labeling. Call it bad timing. The rule took effect on April 1st, but it's no April Fool's joke. The 2004 agreement between the EU and Canada is now hindering European distilleries that have spent years producing whiskey from rye, including Stauning and Thai in Denmark, Kiro in Finland, Stork in Germany, and Rutger in Austria. So on LinkedIn, the distillery, the Cairo distillery, which had been producing whiskey from rye since 2014, described the enforcement as outrageous. So yeah, I'm not sure why this would be. I mean, if it's made from rye whiskey, then it's rye whiskey, right? I mean, if it's made from rye, I don't quite get it. But yeah, so rye being a raw material used for whiskeys in several different countries should not be trademarked in the EU. That's what I agree. It's an ingredient, not a brand, not something that should be protected like that. It's like just saying milk chocolate. You can't call something milk chocolate if it has milk in it. For crying out loud, that's just ridiculous. Anyway, protecting the use of raw material is akin to saying that outside of France you can't use the word, well, grape or wine or whatever in your product description. There are regional cheeses and stuff like that. I even know of a YouTuber that got not busted, but let's just say their hand was slapped for mentioning that they could make a this style cheese. It's kind of ridiculous, but so it's perfectly fine to call to protect Canadian rye. That makes sense. We also dream of protecting Danish whiskey in the future. Typically, you protect a specific production method or the region where it's produced, but the agreement in its current form doesn't make any sense, says Munch. Or Munk. I'm not sure how they pronounce it. Munch. At any rate, surprisingly, no one knew. Apparently, this thing was sitting around. Reportedly, the 20-year-old agreement came as a surprise to not only whiskey producers in the EU, but even Canada was not aware of it. To note, back when the agreement was signed in 2003, the production of rye whiskey in EU countries was close to non-existent. Nobody was aware of it, and it hasn't been enforced in the last 20 years. We went through a long approval process to get into Canada, and our rye whiskey was proven. Well, I mean, 20 years in absentia. You know, I would treat this as a adverse possession. It wasn't enforced, so they should be able to use it, but call it genericide of using rye, just this generic rye. If it was more focused, then I could see somebody arguing about it, but I don't see that this should even stand. I think it's ridiculous. And since nobody was aware of it and nobody was enforcing it, nobody cared enough. So it wasn't protecting jack shit. It was just sitting there. So anyway, so the definition of Canadian rye whiskey. Canada has been famously known for having some of the world's most lax regulations when it comes to whiskey. This includes allowing any whiskey made in the country, whether blended, single malt, single grain, cask finished, flavored, or rye whiskey, to simply be labeled rye whiskey. Because, well, it is rye whiskey. As a result, whiskey and rye whiskey can be considered synonymous with Canada. But no. Anyway, so the regulation regarding Canadian rye whiskey states that whiskey must be mashed, distilled, and aged in Canada. It must also be aged in small wooden containers for at least 3 years and not fall below 40% ABV at any point during production. All right. Additionally, Canadian whiskeys allow the use of caramel coloring, and in blended whiskeys may contain up to 9.09% wine, fortified wine, or at least 2-year-old whiskey from another country. So that's blended. I don't know. That all, all of that needs to be more precise. If you're going to sit there and call out something, call it all out. Make a framework. That's what a lot of complex systems do. You make a framework. All right. Well, there you go. I think it should just be allowed to continue until a framework is built. Let's keep going. So I went over to NaNoWriMo when I found out about this, and since we're in the time machine today, and it was still there. So NaNoWriMo shut down after AI content moderation scandals. NaNoWriMo, a 25-year-old online writing community turned nonprofit, announced on Monday that it is shutting down. NaNoWriMo, an abbreviation for National Novel Writing Month, something that I've promoted for people, or to people, both here on the stream and professional life and private, is apparently shutting down an annual challenge. It's an annual challenge for writers to complete a rough draft of a novel during the month of November. A full novel, right? So you basically write somewhere around 2,000 to 5,000 words a day, I think it is. I'm so sorry for the coughing. I need to make it through this. I can't go another day without doing a show. It's driving me nuts. So Amanda Silberling over at TechCrunch.com put this article together. And so, yeah, it says around the same time, the nonprofit was lambasted for inconsistent moderation on its all ages forums, which created an unsafe environment for teenage writers, community members claimed. New York Times bestselling authors Maureen Johnson and Danielle Jose Older resigned from the nonprofit's board in response to this artificial intelligence aspect of creative writing, reflecting a growing concern among writers about how their work is being stolen to train the very AI models that threaten their livelihoods. That's kind of interesting, but okay. Yeah. So to blame NaNoWriMo's demise on the events of the last year does a disservice to all struggling nonprofits. A NaNoWriMo spokesperson, Kilby, stated on a YouTube video, too many members of a very large, very engaged community let themselves believe the service to be provided was free. And believe me, I have lived and died by that sword several times. So people don't want to pay for something for whatever reason. If you can't get a critical mass that is willing to pay, then you shut down. But this may be 1,000 cuts. You know, if you have inconsistent moderation making people talk that the environment is unsafe for a large number of people that are in your community, then they're going to balk. If you are embracing artificial intelligence created works, but you are founded on the idea of humans that are writing, then you're going to have people balk about the integrity of the organization if you allow any artificial intelligence writing. So I would have instead said no to artificial intelligence. It has to be created by a human from end to end, and go from there. But it's very, very tough to suss out artificial intelligence based authorship, particularly if you have an engaged author, one that is actually reading the material that's being output and then writing about it. So it's a shame that NaNoWriMo is going to shut down. If anything happens, I'm willing to bet that a commercial property is going to buy it, invest in it, and spin it back up as a commercial enterprise, not a non-profit or not-for-profit. Let's keep going though. The next article is over in Rounders Gear, which is all about tabletop gaming, but not tabletop gaming as in role-playing games. This is adult gaming, gambling. Now, I'm not a gambler, but I created a product once that is for, I made custom chips, full metal poker chips, and it was actually called Rounders Gear. And it kind of stuck because Rounders, the preeminent level. And so Rounder's gear would be, the best of the best. And so I created this community based off of that idea that we would talk about table gaming. And I still play like poker and stuff like that, but not professionally and not even regularly. But anyway, inside baseball about Mayor Watt. Well, this article is a Pennsylvania woman in hunt for $2.5 million lottery ticket accidentally donated it to charity. Mildred, I can't pronounce their last name, Simon Iraludo, is facing the race of her life. The 76-year-old from Murraysville, Pennsylvania, is frantically searching for a lost lottery ticket worth an eye-watering $2 million before its May 8th expiration date. So who has it? Don't know. Since Pennsylvania's lottery officials require players to produce an actual physical ticket to collect their winnings, they stated they are staring at a grim reality that an imposter might come forward to collect the prize, or if no one claims it by May 8th, the money will go unawarded. She's hoping that the publicity around surrounding her predicament might help her locate the ticket. It is a cash 5 ticket with the winning numbers, blah, blah, blah. Ring any bells? What else can I do? Cry out loud and hope that something will happen positive on my end. However, the rules are different in Canada. In 2012, Ontario woman Catherine Jones bought a ticket that she promptly lost and forgot about and was unaware that the ticket had won 50 million Canadian until lottery officials showed up at her house with the good news, having traced her via the lottery retailer's surveillance video, which is creepy and not creepy, I guess. In 2005, in Massachusetts, in 86, Edward St. John found a $1 million ticket in the trash. Well, Pennsylvania requires that they actually deliver it. So despite proving that they had purchased the winning numbers, lottery rules required the couple to produce the physical ticket, and the Tots got diddly squat. So that's Martin and Kay Tot lost a $3 million national lottery prize after misplacing their ticket. Oof, this is rough. All right, well, good luck. The article is actually from casino.org. They provide everything, even though I truncate it. But anyway, Philip Conneller put the article together, and they have more over here, and it's better laid out, I suppose. But yeah, go over and check it all out. This is pretty wild. I can't imagine frantically looking for a lost lottery ticket worth an eye-watering $2 million at age 76. All right, the next article is over on the Mobile Channel. U.S. town painted squiggly lines on the road to prevent speeding, but I think that this is actually bad for business. Your brain is not attuned to this, and some idiot is going to follow the line, and that offset impact is going to end up happening at some point. But we'll see. I looked ahead at this because I loaded it up, but anyway, driving is a fairly dangerous endeavor. Speeding down the road in a 3,000-pound box made of metal and plastic alongside countless other speeding boxes. What could go wrong? Well, quite a bit. But so a town has a new traffic pattern up, and they painted it like Europe has these kind of zigzag lines. I once knew what it was, but I don't remember. Anyway, drivers in Montgomery Township, Pennsylvania were taken aback when a new road design forced them to zigzag through town. You actually just drive straight through it. If you do this zigzag, you're asking for trouble. The traffic measure was installed to combat speeding, something that has become a concerning trend in the area. The local police department said in a Facebook post publishing the change. Taking one look at the new lines makes it pretty clear how goofy the attempt to thwart speeders actually is. The squiggly lines are intended to try to work of a kind of like a speed bump without a physical obstacle in the road, is what they say in this article. Again, Kyle Philippi put this article together. They say that they recall something similar happening in New Jersey near their home. Instead of zigzags, they were fancy brick paths set up just before a light to cut down people speeding before the curve to beat the light. So the problem is that literally no one actually drove around the flat brick path. They just drove over it as if it weren't there. So they fully believe that the woman who said that they were blatantly ignoring those zip lines. Yeah, the zigzag lines are nothing. The local police department examined or explained they would be adding delineators to the road, and that's the best course of action in the area. But nobody's going to care about this stuff. In fact, there's going to be somebody that zigzags this way while somebody's zigzagging the other way, and they're going to get an offset impact as they cross that double yellow line. You're looking for trouble. Just stick stop signs up. You know, if you have that much traffic, nobody's speeding. But if you have no traffic, then put stop signs up. And if people are running stop signs, they're not only in violation of the speed, but they're also an additional infraction every time they run a stop sign. And then park a cop, right? Park a cop, or pay for a phone, or not phone, a camera, a speed camera, for crying out loud. There's different ways to do this. That's actually, and that has a financial gain. It pays for itself. Anyway, let's go. The next article is over in Prime Glass. Mystery in Manhattan, why New Yorker galleries are turning to intrigue this spring. Several dealers are taking a less is more attitude by, for example, giving a little away in press releases, and the difference makes a visitor. My God, I have this cold and it's really killing me. Okay, so several dealers are taking a less is more attitude by, for example, giving little away in press releases, and the difference it makes as a visitor is notable. That was so hard to read because this is such a clunky presentation. Anyway, Tim Schneider over at the Art newspaper put this article together. We rarely highlight them anymore, but so for proof, that this just a little bit of creating intrigue is drawing people in. And this is actually something that a lot of marketers are trying to do. They don't tell you that it's for restaurants, let's say. They don't tell you that it's high quality or whatever. They tell you what the experience is like, right? Oh, this is sumptuous. It may be high quality, but the expectation is that it is high quality. You shouldn't have to say, only the choicest beef. No. If you're telling people, why is that a selling point? It's the expectation that it's the choicest. You don't have to tell me. I'm going to find out when I eat it if it's horrible. Same thing with experiences anywhere. You say how they're going to feel, not come stay in our, I don't know, 1,000 square foot room. That's not really much. I'm paying an extraordinary amount of money for this hotel room. Make me really be intrigued by it, right? You're going to have all kinds of fun when you're at this place, or you're going to be able to relax in heated pools and stuff like that. Well, even heated pools. I don't know. I'm not good at that. Anyway, at least not right now, not with my head foggy. So for proof, stop by Laura Owen's self-titled solo exhibition, April 19th, held across Matthew Mark's gallery, 2 spaces on West 22nd Street. They say stop by because reading the press release reveals almost nothing about what exactly a celebrated artist is up to in their first solo show in the city since 2017. The most explanatory detail the statement provides is that the show consists of an immersive environment of New York in painting, sculpture, and handmade books. That also includes kinetic elements, moving pieces within the artworks that continually point to their spatial and temporal contexts. Beyond that, you're on your own. So yeah, that's basically what this article is about. And it's much more extensive, but we're in a time machine, so we're going to cut this a little bit brief. And move on over to Non Sequitur News, April Fool's Day 2025, the best and cringiest pranks. That's where it was an article, or is an article from The Verge that was aggregated into this show's group. So welcome to the worst day on the internet. As how is that name pronounced? Is it Jane? I don't know. Gartenberg. pointed out years ago, brands and a holiday dedicated to hoaxes are rarely a winning combo. If you're a company with any kind of social media presence in 2025, you really, truly only have 4 options on April Fool's Day. So let's see what they say are the 4 options. Don't do an April Fool's Day joke, but put the time and energy into doing something productive that will materially benefit the world. Do an April Fool's joke, but actually follow through on your stunt. Arguably not a prank, since you've actually created a video game skin or a real product or something like that. Do an April Fool's joke, but be extremely clear that from the start that it's a dumb joke and you have no intention of doing the thing that you're humorously pretending to do. Does this defeat the purpose of doing an April Fool's joke because you're not actually fooling anyone? Absolutely, but look above. And then lie to your customers, successfully tricking them into believing that you're making some kind of product, rebranding, or service you are not. There's a 5th. I mean, it says do an April Fool's joke, but actually follow through on your stunt. So there is a YouTuber that does brewing and basically made beer in a pill kind of a thing. You just throw it in some water and it brews a pilsner, so to speak. That isn't really any of these, is it? I mean, do an April Fool's joke, but actually follow through. It says arguably not a prank because you've actually created a video game skin or a real product that they can buy, but it doesn't hurt anybody. And it isn't this because you're not, I mean, it's satirical and over the top just enough that people aren't going to sit there and go, oh, I want this, even though I want that. That would be great. But anyway, this is kind of goofy. All right. Well, anyway, go check it out. It's a fun article. You can go and read more about it. And they actually link to other things. And our final article for the April 1st Non Sequitur news. Again, I was sick. And I had been sick for 5 days and I just needed a break. Anyway, you drink, they plant this Earth Month with Redwood Empire whiskey. This Earth Month, sip your way to a more sustainable future by helping to plant up to 100,000 trees thanks to Redwood Empire Whiskey. For the entire month of April, the Redwood Empire Whiskey Shake, Pour, and Plant initiative will plant 1 tree for every cocktail sold in partnership with Trees for the Future. Crafted in Northern California with the beauty of the region's iconic redwood giants as a backdrop, Redwood Empire Whiskey distills its award-winning bourbon and rye whiskeys mixed with it into a cocktail and sip neat. All 14 expressions of Redwood Empire whiskey are unique and distinct as the real-life trees they're named after. So the article is over at vinepair.com. Catherine Alex Bevan put the article together. And let's see if there's more to it. Yeah, so they want to plant 100,000 trees this Earth Month. And there's a QR code that you can follow. It says use Redwood's map to find 200 plus participating accounts this Earth Month all across the country. So 1 cocktail equals 1 tree, 100,000 trees planted for Earth Month in partnership with Trees for the Future. And this is like your standard whiskey bottle. Look at that. It has that little neck right there that when I finally get it, man, I'm getting a pirate right there on that arm. Anyway, all right, that's it. The time machine is whipping us back to the front page of ohmtown.com where you should go and become a citizen. The search is arguably working. I have to expand it, but search alone is very, very, very expensive. So I hope that you follow us here on YouTube and Twitch and keep moving us forward for 2025. Our goal is to kind of migrate ourselves over to it more and more and more and more and more. I'd like to do more shows, like to hang out more, like to talk more, but mayoral duties pull me away, folks. So I hope to see you around ohmTown. See you soon. Bye-bye.